cottage country in central Ontario. Chief Hernan, thank you for taking time out of your busy day to speak with us today about the Rowanwood Retirement Home fire. We understand that it was a very large retirement home fire. However, 56 residents were successfully evacuated without any serious injuries. Can you set the scene for us a little bit?
Certainly, Daryl. April 13th, it was a Sunday evening. Approximately 10:30 that evening is when the initial call came into the fire service that there was a fire at the Rowanwood Retirement Home. Having local knowledge of the area, obviously, and the building in particular, it's located halfway between Huntsville and Port Sydney, basically between two of our main fire stations, on a non-hydrant protected area. Dispatch came on and indicated right away that they were receiving multiple calls for heavy fire, so we knew we had a working fire at this building. We dispatched 2 halls immediately, basically cleared both the Huntsville Port Sydney station out, as well as ambulance and police to see what we were dealing with. The building, it's an older hotel that's been converted multiple times, many renovations to it, all up to fire code, had firewalls and separations. It was a 2-story wood frame structure, truss roof with shingles. It had a crawl space under part of it, but not a full basement. The key thing with Rowanwood and the residents, because of our local knowledge, is most of them would require assistance for an evacuation. I believe it's a 110-bed facility. For whatever reasons, it only had 56 occupants that night, which was a key advantage to us. It was not at full capacity at this time of year. And when we arrived on scene, I guess I arrived in after the second truck arrived. First truck pulled in and just said they had large fires. Immediately everybody was sent to assist with evacuation. When I was approximately 2-3 miles away, you could see the flames in the sky. I knew we had a hard working fire. Found it strange at first that there wasn't the usual radio chatter that you'd normally hear at a fire scene. And then when I arrived on scene, I could see why. There was a full-scale evacuation obviously well underway. The roof of the structure from the north end was heavily involved in fire, going back approximately a third of the building. Full fire up there. The dining room area, you could see the fire was on the main floor. You could see that through the windows that were busted out. I entered the structure from the south side, seen the staff there, seen what was going on. There was basically a very orderly evacuation in progress. The firefighters were involved, staff was involved, people that had stopped on the highway were involved. But there was a couple of charge nurses which you could tell had control of the situation and were directing people. I initially did a walk through the building just to get a feel for how bad it was. At the one end of the building, the hallways, the heat was just incredible. So we ordered some lines in to hold the fire at that end of the building while we continued the evacuation on the 100 series wing, which would be the westerly wing of the building, if you would. Some things that struck me right off the bat, there was no lights on. We're working with emergency lighting only in the hallways. The alarm bells weren't ringing. It was eerie quiet inside. And although there was people all over the place and in the hall, and seniors, and people being directed out, nobody was screaming, nobody was yelling, nobody was in that panic state. Everybody knew they had to move and move quickly, and that's what was happening.
What are the typical types of residents at that facility?
Well, they're senior citizens. It is a retirement home. They're all senior citizens, so I'm going to describe the average resident would probably be in the 70+ age category.
Requiring assistance to exit?
Yes. You know, the times that we're in there on inspections, or I've been down there for other reasons, staff training or not, well over half the residents are either with walkers or wheelchairs, or so it's not a mobile force, if you will. They're all using some sort of walking aid to get around. I know they have a secure wing down there because they do have some Alzheimer's patients. But all these people were moving, although slowly, all in the general direction, like they knew where they were heading. They were all orderly being brought out of the rooms. There was a staff at the end of the hall, so nobody could get back in. As they did the room checks with the fire department, they were moving them out. The firefighters and the volunteers at this time were actually picking up the senior citizens as well as staff members were assisting in that and carrying them out to get them out quicker. But everybody was moving in the right direction in an orderly fashion, if you will. As I said, we immediately advanced some hand lines into the building just strictly to try and hold the hallways while the evacuation was completed. And I guess that was the initial, obviously that was the initial attack, and the initial first 20 minutes, 30 minutes of that fire was getting everybody out. Then it came the task of, is everybody out? And you know, the two nurses in charge, when I asked them, there was never hesitation in their voice. They knew exactly how many there was. They had accounted for everybody. They knew that all 56 residents were out.